What's up, guys? Team Card Freaks here, and today we will be talking about a Zero Fairy Tale. Now, Zero, one of my favorite rulers, has now become amazing. Well, yeah, kind of amazing. With a Judgment of 2 light, which can be done turn 3 if you feel like it in this deck. Just don't even use the Energize. Just you can use the Energize and do it turn 2. That's mainly just to deactivate her and her Energize. Good effects, good. Now her activate effects of light and dark are: you can tap 1 light and target Resonator gains plus 100 attack and plus 100 defense until the end of the turn, which is amazing if you do it before recovery, or if you swing and your opponent says they're not going to block, then just get all the extra damage you can. Then her dark effect, target J/Resonator. This can hit a J ruler. Loses flying, first strike, swiftness, precision, and imperishable until the end of the turn. So even if they flipped and they have a Levitine on board, they do not gain swiftness. They cannot gain swiftness, which is amazing. Now to talk about her J ruler. Now, if you do the turn 2 or turn 3, or later on, this deck doesn't exactly need to deactivate. I guess I'll say that beforehand. Now, she becomes a 1100 target attack J ruler, who by her effect prevents all damage that will be dealt to this card while battling. So basically, she doesn't take damage unless it's outside of the battle phase. Your opponent would need 3 lightning strikes in their hand to actually do something to this card. That's an annoying sound. Sorry, my thing is dying. And also her other continuous effect, which while she's on the field, this happens. J Resonators your opponent controls lose and cannot gain flying, first strike, swiftness, target attack, which I prefer target attack, but it says precision, and imperishable. So this is entirely to me overpowered. Her front side was a little bit balanced because you have to use a stone to do it. But her other side just says, no, you know what, you don't get your effect. And now to talk about the stone base, which as you've seen from Zero, she's a light and dark. But with this deck, we're just going to be running all white stones. There's no use in running a Fairy Tale deck with dark stones. Why would you? Also, I apologize for saying that you can't run a Fairy Tale deck with dark stones. I've thought about it, and it was a pretty good idea because I actually kind of want the deck to be built. And now let's talk about the Regalia, which we're going up in ascending order. So, Horn Sacred Beast. Literally another overpowered card to me in the game, who says you can banish this card. Target player shuffles all Magic Stones from their graveyard into their Magic Stone deck, and then they shuffle all other cards from their graveyard into their main deck. So if you're up against, so this can be used defensively to shuffle all of your Fairy Tales from your grave back into your deck, which is amazing if you're late game and you're starting to lose. But it can be used offensively as well. If your opponent is, say, running a graveyard dependent deck, they need cards in their graveyard. Say they're running the Rezard 1, who is actually amazing in this format. If they're running him, and say he starts milling heavily into the graveyard, you can banish this and get rid of his graveyard. He won't be able to do anything. Now the next Regalia will be our 2 of Levitine, the Demon Sword. My favorite because my first ever J ruler was a fire ruler, and this is a fire Regalia to me because it can produce fire. Now, we only use it for the first and third effect. Of the first effects being your J ruler gains swiftness. Who doesn't want a card that doesn't take damage with swiftness on board? And we use it for the effect of banish a Resonator, recover this card. Now, if you aren't really, pretty sure everyone watching this video has played a spell heavy deck. If your opponent tries to target one of your resonators with like a kill spell or something that allows them to like neg it, or against a Mikage, if he starts trying to burn one of your resonators, just banish that resonator, and then you recover this card for your next turn. Then our last regalia is amazing, the Apollo Sphere. If your opponent can't have flying, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to have it. And we could use it for the, if we felt like it, we could put, it's optional for you to do, you could put like a Lunar Ibis in the deck, or any other Awakening card, and you could use it for the first, second, and third effect. We use it for the first and third. For the effect, you get an 1100 card that doesn't take damage, with swiftness and flying on board. And we use it for the effect of tap, banish this card, return target resonator you control to its owner's hand. And since it says you control, you can replay any of the resonators in the deck. Any of them. And then they all have either an enter effect or a effect of when this card, they most of them have enter effects or automatics. Okay, now we're going to talk about these spells. The first spell we're going to talk about today is Interdimensional Escape. Now, Interdimensional Escape is a pretty overpowered card. Each player, both people, or if you're in a multi-man game, everyone chooses one resonator they control, and then they lose all the other resonators. Now, they just have to banish them to the graveyard with you. And then we have the card that's supposed to be in a Fairy Tail deck, Magic Sweets, which is amazing and kind of overpowered. Most of the cards, I say everything's overpowered because you can use it offensively. It is a 1 light quick cast spell that says target J/Resonator. This is why I say it's overpowered. You can use this to prevent your J ruler from being targeted by anything. Target J/Resonator you control gains plus 200 attack and defense and barrier until the end of the turn. Barrier. Amazing. Which basically, they can't be targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls, which is everything your opponent controls, unless it's a symbol skill, which is basically target attack, which they won't have. That's why that's in there. If your opponent can't target it, they can't kill it. Then we have the card that's ran with Zero's Magic Light. This is predominantly why the deck is all white, but I could splash a little bit of black-white stones in the deck. But you're going to see why in a minute, why we don't run special magic stones. But this card is basically, it says it's 2 light quick cast, but if your J ruler is 0, the 6 Sage of Light, or 0 Master of the Magic Saber, you pay 1 light less. So it's a 1 light remove target attacking or blocking resonator from the game. This is an offensive card or a defensive. Which this deck mostly uses it offensively. Or if you're in a feasting matchup, the turbo feasting that I don't like because it's really, really overpowered because everyone knows why, you can use it to remove their Wyber from the game. And now for the resonators. Our first resonator will be Peter Pan. A 5/6, a 3-drop 5/6 with flying, 1 light, 2 any. He has flying, and when this card enters your field, search your deck for a Fairy Tail Resonator with total cost of 1, which is any color, just 1. And put it into your field. Then shuffle your deck. You're going to see why I love this in a second. Our second card is, what is that? Fairy of Neverland. I can't really remember the names sometimes. Which she is a fairy tale and a fairy. And her effect says, she is a 5/5 with flying. She is a 2-drop, so Peter Pan cannot search her out, but it's good to have. Fairy Tail Resonators you control with total cost of 1 gain flying. Flying is, you'll see it's a kind of a common thing in the deck. And our next card, which is used in Gwyber matchups, Bedivere, Who wouldn't want this card in their deck? He is a 2 light 1 any. I'm sorry if it's a little bit blurry. I really apologize. Bedivere, the Restorer of Souls. A 2 light 1 any with target attack, and he is a 7/7. And whenever this card enters your field, you may remove target Resonator with 1,000 or more attack from the game. Which is amazing when you think of all of the giant Resonators. If your opponent is playing Arthur, the Light Arthur, guess what? His effect says he can't be targeted by light or darkness. Well, it can't be targeted by fire or darkness. I'm sorry for that. But the thing is, Bedivere is a light Resonator. So Bedivere can remove literally anything with 1,000 or more attack from the game just by entering the field. Which is why I love him. And then we run a 2 of Confectioner Hansel. Almost forgot to say that. No, say that word. He is a 1 light 1 any 500 attack, 500 defense Resonator. Which, whenever this card enters the field, you may, actually it's mandatory, search your deck for a card named Magic Sweets, reveal that card, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Which is amazing when you're thinking about Magic Sweets being able to prevent any spell or ability from targeting him or any other Resonator in the deck. Then he has the effect to rest, and you just gain 200 life. Just blunt, you gain 200 life. And then we're going to get up into the higher number. Tinkerbell, the fairy. She is a 1-drop, light, 100 attack, 100 defense, with flying, which her effect says this card gains 200 attack and defense for each other Fairy Tale Resonator you control. Which I'm happy that they at least gave her attack this time, because originally in Wanderer, she had no attack and defense because she gained from herself. And people would just negate her effect and she would die just immediately. But I'm glad they actually put her into this deck. I'm going to leave her like up at the top over there. Just to show you, just you'll see why in a minute. It's because of her attack gain. Our next card will be Light Dress Cinderella. If you see a lot of these cards are in the starter deck, because a lot of them in the starter deck, because the fairy tales there are amazing. Our next card will be Light Dress Cinderella, a 2 light cost to play. She has 400 attack and 400 defense, since she's a fairy tale, Tinkerbell will get a boost off of it. In which her effect says, whenever this card deals damage to your opponent, search your deck for a Fairy Tale Resonator, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Which, if you do not have a Tinkerbell yet, guess what? You can grab one right out of the deck, and you're more than likely going to have at least one stone to play. And then you cast her directly at it. Basically, you can cast her straight from the deck. Then her second effect, which almost guarantees you damage with her, rest a recovered J Resonator. You can just no J, just rest a recovered Resonator you control. This card gains flying until the end of the turn, which is basically the most amazing effect ever, because if you give her flying, turn 2, your opponent more than likely doesn't have a flyer yet, so you get a free 400 damage and a Tinkerbell into your hand for next turn. So our next Resonator will be, we're going up into our 4 ofs, Percival. Which we run Regalia in the deck. We don't run any Ruler's Memoria, but we do run Regalia. Which, everyone knows what Percival does, but for those who don't, whenever she is a 1 cost, 2/2, with the effect that says, whenever this card enters your field, reveal the top 5 cards of your main deck, put a Regalia, you may put a Regalia or Knight of the Round Table from among them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your main deck in any order. I'm not sure why they made that like a non-mandatory. Why would you not put a Regalia or Knight of the Round Table from among them into your hand? But then she has a kind of a pretty good effect. Banish this card, prevent all damage that would be dealt to target J Ruler or Knight of the Round Table until the end of the turn. So basically, 0 doesn't need it. actually she actually could, if it's during your opponent's turn, and they're not attacking, they're just burning 0 to try to kill her. You can banish Percival, and then just stop them from killing her. She's not a fairy tale, but she is pretty amazing. Then our next card will be Gawain. To me, my favorite Knight of the Round Table for the fact that look at his stature. Look at him. His effect says he is a 2-cost 3/7. I speak weird. Other Knights of the Round Table gain 200 attack and 200 defense. So if you have 2 Gawains on the field, they both become 500 attack, 900 defense. And Percival immediately becomes a big threat to your opponent. Then he has a clever automatic effect. Whenever this card attacks or blocks, you automatically get to rest target Resonator. And it's mandatory, so if your opponent doesn't have anything, just remember, if he attacks and there's nothing else on the field, he has to target something, so he targets himself. Which I believe his attack still goes through, but can you tell me that in the comments, please? I never really understood that. Then our next and final Resonator will be one of our win conditions. Dreaming Girl Wendy, who is also a fairy tale. Whenever she's a 1-cost 2/3, which whenever another fairy tale Resonator enters your field, recover this card. Which you can swing, you can attack with her, play a fairy tale, recover her, and then attack again. And if you have Tinkerbell, you can use Apollo Sphere to put her back into your hand, cast her again, recover, and then attack again. You kind of, pretty sure you get where this is going. Which she also has another effect. This card gains 200 attack and 200 defense as long as you control a magic stone and control no special magic stones. Which you kind of see why we're running no special magic stones, because she would only be a 2/3, but with her effect, she becomes a 400 attack, 500 defense. Amazing. And as long as you control Eternal Boy Peter Pan, she cannot be attacked and gains flying, which you don't really need. Peter Pan, just have the Fairy of Neverland. And she always has flying, which is, if she has flying, you can attack, play another one. Well, the most damaging thing that's happened to me is one of my friends had he played 2 of them in 1 turn. He already had 1 of them on the field. Then next turn he attacked with all of them, so that's 1,200 damage I took. Played a Tinkerbell. Attacked again, so I took 2,400 damage. Then he played, he had all of his Apollo Spheres. He was basically replaying Tinkerbell to recover all of his Wendy's, so I would be constantly taking 1,200 damage. Because he had Fairy of Neverland on the field. So all of them always had flying, and I was tapped out. I couldn't do anything about it. Which, that's what this deck is great at. If your opponent has swiftness, it doesn't really matter, because hey, this deck is actually pretty good against swiftness because of Zero's Magic Light and all the potential bot in Gawain and Bedivere, because pretty sure people are going to be pumping up Lancelot to above 1,000 or at least 1,000. So if you attack, and so say you attack with like 500 attack or 600 attack, and let's say your opponent has I cannot English today because I woke up not that long ago. Say your opponent attacks with anything, say that has over 1,000 attack, and it's like a base 1,000, Bedivere will remove it. But that's basically the deck list, guys. Tinkerbell is one of the win conditions because of the amount of fairy tales you run. So basically, if you have three of Wendy out, she becomes a 1 light, 700 attack and defense with flying, which is amazing. So that's basically the deck list, guys. Let me know how you liked it in the comments down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you later.